Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of I Never Knew, but My Dog Did podcast. I am your host, Maureen Scanlon. I'm a master life coach, an author, an entrepreneur, and a speaker, and I live and love to help others. It's what I do, it's who I am, and it's why I'm here. I have to tell you, I can't. It took like 20 minutes for us to like stop talking so I could finally hit the record button because she is I and I am her. And I knew as when I read her email, I'm like, oh my gosh, she is like me, high energy on steroids. So when you hear this, speaking of steroids, so when you turn 50, that engine light, check engine light starts to come on, unfortunately, and some of your parts start to break down, even if you're happy and you take care of yourself. Some things are genetic, and we try to test for those things and fight it. In my case, there's a lot of degenerative arthritis in our family. So I recently had an MRI, found out that I have some, first of all, this was a sidebar that I have. It turns out I have like a few nodules on my thyroid that I have to go get a needle biopsy on. But the discovery was arthritis in the joint from the shoulder blade to the collarbone. And in my neck, my lower neck, which I've had a lot of pain with in the last few months. It just kind of came on about 5 months ago. There is no disc between my vertebrae, and it is squeezing on nerves. So, when I say speaking of steroids, I went in for an injection yesterday, steroid injections that go right into the nerve of your vertebrae, whether it's your back, your lower back, upper neck. So it's cervical, it can be lumbar. Um, 0 stars, do not recommend. All I'm going to say is fast but excruciating pain. Now, I try to stay positive, and I knew I needed Suzan today because I'm struggling with. I woke up that I was in the pain, same pain I was in before I had it done, and it could take up to 10 days to kick in. If it kicks
Oh,
in,
wow.
and I don't want surgery and I don't want medication. So this was my decision and my alternative to say, I'll try this injection. Whew, it would be difficult to have to keep doing these. But anyway, speaking of steroids, she is incredibly fun and energetic, and oh, you guys, you are just gonna love her. And this is another one of those moments, a guest in Bali, of all places today, and she's from Canada, but she's in Bali, just is meant to be here, listeners, with us. She's going to give you so much stuff. Her supercharged attitude, her supercharged brand is just going to soak in, and I hope you're listening first thing in the morning because I was not going to reschedule. I did not care how much pain I was in. I was going to do this podcast because I knew I would get that positive healing energy that I myself needed. And so what's better if I need that? I know my listeners need that. So that being said, listeners, let me tell you about her, and you're going to hear it just from her bio. Okay. So Suzan Peltekian is super passionate and a lover of her fellow humans and transformation. She is a manifestation mindset, peak performance coach, and global speaker. She retired from real estate in 2020 to pursue her childhood dream and divine purpose with the mission to raise the consciousness of all our precious billions, one human soul at a time. You and me, my sister. Ken and
Yeah.
Michael McLaughlin and the unparalleled leadership of Remax Hallmark Realty Group filled up all of her coaching spots during COVID, and she believes the biggest real estate that everyone owns is the one between their two ears, and that she can guide anyone to co-create their life by design, by using their marvelous mind. How beautiful is that? Welcome, 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 my new beautiful friend, Suzan. How are you, my love?
Just delighted to be in your company, my love. You are beyond exceptional. What lucky listeners you have with you're a bundle of joy. I said it before you started recording. You referred to me as fun. It's something I had written down to say about you, by the way. You are super fun. Thank you for having me. It's a delight and a joy to be here and to serve our people because you are me and I am you indeed.
Yeah, yeah. This is my get to. This is my get to. You, my guests and my listeners, honor me by allowing me to have the joy of having these conversations. And if it helps Starfish story, if it makes a difference to that one, that is all that matters. And I hope it helps more than one. But to me, this is my get to. So here on I Never Knew, we got a story of your professional background. And as you said, you listened to other episodes where I say, well, we have to understand what experience do we have that we can bring to others to say, not only did I study that, but I felt it. I've been there and I'm an empath and I know how that feels. So let's start
Yeah,
with your knee story, that moment when we all have had many, or maybe some people have had just one big, profound one. For me, it was the dogs looking at me, telling me to love myself unconditionally. So, what was the knee moment for you where you knew, as you say here, your divine purpose was to
yeah.
raise the consciousness of all? But what was your own realization or epiphany moment that led you to the path you're on?
Oh, such a great question. Thank you, Maureen. And the happiest, most supercharged healing love to you, by the way. I see you as healed already and can't wait to hear about it. I love your dog story, and so many have asked me about if I had one moment. I never had one moment. Like I was sharing off the record, on the record is the same. This is the only thing I've wanted to do, but I didn't share why I hadn't done it. I never believed in myself. So I was always looking outside, just like you were talking about the self-love part. So I just recorded one right before ours here in Austin, in Singapore, with a lady. And I said, outwardly, Maureen, I looked exactly the same. I looked confident, but I wasn't. I looked bubbly, but I wasn't inside. It was more of toxic positivity, if you will. But over time, so it wasn't one particular moment. Year over year, month after month, day after day, I did a lot of inner work, which is what led to me being here today and finally making that decision. But that day that I woke up, I don't remember the day, but I know that it was exactly 2 weeks prior to us knowing about COVID that I finally, what you read there, I made one. I woke up one day and I'm like, that's it. I'm not doing real estate anymore. And that's when I attracted that number one Remax Worldwide that happens to be a Canadian brand. And they are the ones through the law of attraction that filled up all my spots. They've been exceptionally exquisite and supporting me since then. That was 5 years ago.
Oh,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, it's one of the things I always say. I've said this for a very long time. Sometimes God rocks the boat and sometimes God flips it over. And I think COVID was a big flip over for so many people, whether it was in your personal relationships or your professional. And I'm not happy people lost their lives. I'm not happy people
Oh,
missed weddings and missed graduations by any means, guys. But what I do love is we stopped and we paused and we regrouped and we evaluated what is most important to my soul. What am I doing here? Am I just passing time? Am I in the hustle and bustle of every day that 30 years from now I'm going to wake up and it's all gone and I'm not fulfilled? So good things can come from bad, and I'm just saying right now, whatever your political views are, the separation of humanity, Canadians and Americans and
yes,
Hispanics, Mexicans, it's
yes.
wrong. It's wrong to separate people. We are one one humanity. And so what is happening right now, let's flip the script, and I'm going to ask Suzan how we can stay in the positivity when there are these outside negative things that we have no control over. So
Oh,
let's talk about a thing that you said that I absolutely love. I want to start with,
yeah.
why do you think you didn't have any belief in yourself? Was this from a family of origin situation? Where did it start not being able to believe in yourself?
Such a great question. No one asked that part two. Part one, I've been asked part two now. Thank you, Maureen. I believe everything starts in childhood, and it was never that someone told me something that I'm aware of. I wasn't even aware. So I teach the conscious and subconscious, as you know, and 95 to 98% of our results is coming from the subconscious. So a fish in water doesn't know it's in water, and then it gains a little bit of awareness, let's say, it goes into a bigger tank. My entire job with my peak performance, with what I did, is to build wings and fly. And exactly what you said there, to realize our oneness, that we are one, and the ego's job is to separate. As long as you can separate, then the ego's happy, right? So what happened there was, I didn't know that I was not even aware that I didn't believe in myself. But you could see from my results, that's the fastest hack for anyone listening in, your precious listeners, right? It's like, well, if you have a certain result, let's say a result is working in your life, then more than likely your predominant thoughts are working for you, and vice versa. If results aren't, so if we're living from the outside in, which is how I lived for the majority of my life, versus the inside out, that's going to make all of the difference. So I teach life by design, Maureen, and most of us are living life by default. We've already been programmed, and we're living through the programming. So I didn't even know that I lacked belief. But I'm like, wait a minute, this is all I've wanted. And I went from job to job to job to becoming a realtor, which I immensely enjoyed, because one minute we're complete strangers like you and I were, then we're in each other's living rooms. I was in their houses. Their homes are, like, for most Canadians, or probably most people around the globe, their biggest and their only asset for the majority, right? And I've been their home, and we've become lifelong friends. But in my soul, I knew that I was cheating on myself. This is the gift that I believe the Creator gave me to share with the world. And that's why I was in Singapore a few minutes ago. Now we're in Austin, supercharging our one precious world, one human soul at a time. And I can't honor and thank you enough. You said you get to, well, I get to as well. So it's an honor. Thank you.
How eloquently put. I was cheating on myself. None of us, before we found our purpose, and if we're still seeking our purpose, would think of it in terms of, I'm cheating on myself. And you are so right, because I believe we made a contract coming here of things we needed to experience and learn
Mhm.
and grow. Otherwise, we're wasting a lifetime. And
Yes,
we didn't realize we were cheating on ourselves. If you are growing and healing and then you get to the other side, I can look back now in all the dysfunction or the generational things that I was repeating. I didn't blame myself and saying I was cheating on myself, but I was, because allowance, I allowed it, and didn't believe I had choices. I cheated myself until I believed, unconditionally loved myself through the eyes of my dogs, that
oh,
I'm not cheating myself anymore. You know when you're in your purpose because you do it for free. I would do it for free. I love
yes,
that I can get paid for it
yes,
um, to give, be of service. I love that, and my energy is valuable,
of
as
course.
is anyone who is doing any kind of, or you're valuable, and you are allowed to put a price on your energy. Just, and any of you that have had struggles with a relationship with money, as I did growing up, that was a
Yes,
new thing. My other question, as you said, others have asked you that, toxic positivity is a very big oxymoron. Do you think,
yes.
I see this in the world of motivational speakers? I learn of their personal lives or their will say who they really are and how they present themselves as this very motivational, positive person. And I'm not saying we're human. We have our issues
Of
too.
course.
But
Of course.
when you listen to this podcast, this is me. You know off air I was exactly the same as I am on air.
Yes, you are.
I cannot fake it till I make it. That's not who I am. My ADD and possibly high functioning autism will not allow me to fake anything. I have zero filter, but there are people who do that. What do you think there are the examples of toxic positivity, and what did it look like for you going through life with toxic positivity?
Thank you for asking. I've never been asked this for once. It was very toxic, quite frankly. If I can be blunt in just one word, answer would be toxic. But really, it wasn't authentic. I mean, how hard it is to go through life just wanting you to like me, but I'm not even aware. So I thought I had to be happy, and it came from well-meaning people in my life who couldn't be with me not being happy, right? So I thought I had to be happy, right? And then when you realize that all emotions are beautiful, now not only is it not no longer toxic for me, but I'm authentic, and with love I don't care what others think about me. It's not like in an egotistical way. It's like, no, I do me. And like I was sharing pre-recording, right, about stuff around you, the right people will always be attracted to us when we're being authentic. And the gift we get to give ourselves, as we shared, both of us said this, Maureen, you are me, I am me. We get to create that precious space for other precious souls to actually be themselves, because what's more important than that, than you being you? There's just, you're one of one, and you're, the chances of you being here on Mother Earth is 1 in 400 trillion.
Yeah.
And you are Michelangelo's David. All we're doing here, you're not becoming anyone different. You're already perfect in your DNA. All we're doing is chipping away the layers of the conditioning, the SHIT, the CRAP, all the stuff they put on us, they, in parentheses, all right, so that we can unbecome by unlearning. And now that fish in water isn't just going into a bigger tank with bigger awareness, it's actually growing its wings to fly and to be free, which is our divine birthright.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And we wouldn't have
Woo.
access to any of that if I couldn't even just be with, like, I had to pretend to be happy all the time, right?
Yeah.
There's no access to that. And what fun is life if I can't be me?
And
That
that's really pertinent when you think of like the things that we were taught, subconscious and conscious.
condition, yeah.
You heard things that just seeped into your subconscious. You didn't, you weren't like, oh, this person said that. But then there's those conscious things that were said around you. If you grew up in a fairly critical, judgmental home as I did, I never felt good enough. And bless my mother's heart, she's admitted she wanted perfect children, only because it's not her fault, because her own growing up, her own childhood was so rough. She wanted to fix all those things she wanted to reparent herself through parenting us by changing the view of her childhood by making us perfect, and it couldn't happen. It wouldn't be possible. What I
Oh,
heard you say is a lot of us put on a happy mask.
oh yeah.
I have a best friend that we reunited. I think it's been like 7 years. I'm going to be in her wedding. She's getting remarried.
Well, congrats.
Her husband passed, or her other husband. She divorced and he passed, but she found her love, and they're getting married in November. And I'm old, but I'm going to be a bridesmaid. So excited about that. But she said to
You're
me,
fabulous.
she
You're fabulous.
said to me when we were teenagers. She goes, I had no idea what was happening in your home life, Maureen. I had no idea you were insecure. You were so cute. You were so well put together. You were bubbly. Everybody loved to be around you. I
Yes,
had on a happy mask just like Susan, because in my home life, we didn't talk about it. You sweep it under the rug. We don't address emotion. We don't we don't accept mental health issues. We don't do woo-woo stuff like the things we do today. We don't do psychics. We don't do any healing
Yeah,
work, internal healing work. The motto
yeah.
of my childhood is suck it up, buttercup. And so I learned to suck it up, buttercup, and put on that happy mask because I wanted to be this thing. But as you said, I was living from the outside in and not the inside out. And I wanted to acknowledge you spoke that so perfect. And I know it's going to resonate
Hope
with
so.
listeners. I know it is. It's why you're amazing at what you do.
Thank you.
What's
Likewise.
interesting to me is as a coach, a lot of us, not myself, but a lot of people are hashtag goals corporate training. They love to go in there and this is what we can do. I'm like you. I like a smaller scale. I love to help small business owners. I love one-on-ones. I love women recovering from divorce and stuff. So is it interesting to you that your corporate um desires or success led you to a different path of coaching, or is that just sort of the natural way it should have gone?
Uh, that one particularly, to be honest, I would serve anyone who it would support. Like I do big master classes. I don't do one-on-one anymore. So
Oh,
whoever it serves, it's women, men, anyone who really can get on this frequency to whoever I resonate with, if that
great.
makes sense. Yes, yes.
Good. Thanks for
But going back,
clarifying that.
no, no, thank you for asking. But in terms, I'm so proud of you for realizing that and and making me realize it was literally those words, suck it up, buttercup, that just right. And we all have a version of that. Like when I say all 99.999 so that I'm accurate, Maureen, wink, wink, right? But it's that version of that so that we can tippy toe through life and fit in instead of realizing that well we already belong, we don't have to fit into anyone's, we're not trying to fit into a box, right? And so much compassion for your upbringing with mom, god bless her, she that was her awareness. And one of my mentors, by the way, I didn't share with you, is he passed away a couple of 3 years ago, it was a couple of weeks ago, it was his anniversary of death. You may know him from The Secret, Bob Proctor.
Yeah,
He said the only difference between each one of us is awareness. So mom didn't have that awareness, and now she wants perfect children. And he is also the one who taught me that we're all born in the perfect with the perfect DNA. You're born in the perfect vibration. You are God's, and I hope no one listening in is stopped by the word God. You can use God interchangeably with universe, spirit, whatever resonates, right? You're God's highest form of creation. You are this universe's highest form of creation, number one of one, Michelangelo's David, except you're Maureen, the exceptional, exquisite Maureen, right? Not David. And although you're perfect in your DNA, in your ways of being, not so much. But guess what? I live in the biggest glass house. None of us are perfect in our ways of being, but that's what makes this journey of being a human so beautiful, Maureen. Like imagine if we were literally all perfect the way we pretended. Oh, it's shameful. Don't let the Joneses know that we're like this, or we're like, meanwhile, the Joneses, who knows what they were really up to. And what a lie that we were all brought up with, lie over lie over lie, conditioning, programming, none of which seems to be true. And now, as you said, I post COVID, what I want to speak to, and yes, a lot of infinite compassion, not a lot, infinite compassion to whoever lost someone, and there's still, we're dealing with the aftermath of it. And we know for a fact with the law of attraction, with success principles, that every adversity happens for a reason. And there has been way more awakening, as you mentioned so beautifully, Maureen. I didn't acknowledge you on that. So that's 100%. And now we're waking up to realize, wait a minute, there were a lot of lies. And we're getting to start to chip away more and more of that statute of David to actually get to know who we truly are.
yeah,
Not here in the conscious, hey, I know I'm God's child, but here in your body, in your subconscious mind, in your heart of hearts, that, hey, I am it. That's Maureen Scanlon, number one of one. Pinch yourself. Whoa!
yeah. You know what I
Right?
think has changed in this time-space reality versus,
Mm.
when I was
Oh,
born, 54, almost 55 years ago, is that there's more acceptance of ourselves and each other. There's also far more connection and openness around vulnerability. And I think that has changed. I think that has changed a lot of the vibration and the genuineness
Oh,
of people. You know, there's that,
yes,
there's always a 4951, but in my
yes,
universe, in my being, the ones that I attract
yes.
in my vibration, that's what I find. I opened up to you the minute this popped, the minute her video popped up, and I was like, hey, you, that was it. I knew I attracted her. I brought her. She brought me. And I think that's the fun part of this journey. I did an interview with a guest the other day who said, I wish I could live 200 to 400 years. And
Oh,
I said, oh my goodness, that is a life of joy. When you say, I'm not going to live long enough to experience the joy that I want in this life, that's fantastic. Getting
yes.
to that point now, you and I aim to help people want to live till they're 400 years old, right?
Amen. Oh, that is juicy. Yes, right. Thank you. Oh, and look at you. You have such a beautiful inner child. It's just you're so playful and loving and fun. Yes. How can I say no to that? But that's a real yes and an actual yes. Excuse me, not a real one. Real and actual. But what you said there about vulnerability, Maureen, is huge. You mentioned Brene Brown's before you hit recording. She has a great 20-minute talk, I think, on YouTube. I don't know if you've heard it, on vulnerability. And most of us grew up, I certainly did, and no one said it's bad or wrong, and maybe they did, but that was my perception, right? It's like that it's wrong. That's why we put all the masks on. It's like, oh, well, I'm perfect. My life is perfect. And the fake smiles versus vulnerability is strength. And look, when we share, we're freed from our traumas too. And like the healing doesn't happen if we're hiding, because when we're in shame, nothing gets healed. We're actually instigating it further because we're in the dark. Just put the switch on, for God's sake. The light, we turn it on when we go into the room, and that's it. There's light because who we are is light as humans.
Yes, yes. And it's a hard thing to do. You meet people and you're like, what the heck do you want me to do, Susan, Maureen? What do you want me to just walk up and be like, hey, I had a whole bunch of trauma in my life, and how about you? That's not what we're saying. What we're saying
No.
is when you feel comfortable and that intuition and that gut are so important. Get out of your head, stay in your gut. And just like I knew Susan and I were connected from the second I saw her, you're going to have that intuition with other people in your life. And you might disagree with me, Susan, and listeners, but how I first learned how to be more vulnerable was I did a lot of self-deprecating humor. So to meet people or to kind of lighten a conversation, like I had a guest who you guys are going to hear who tells you what not to do at a funeral, and I told her I do self-deprecating humor. I can't help it. When people are sad or upset, I lighten it up. I don't want people to be sad or whatever. So, but what I would do is this sort of self-deprecating thing that brought people's guard down and opened them up to sharing. Now, I'm not saying everybody has to be self-deprecating or whatever, but what I found was all I had to do was open a conversation to try to find the commonality that we had,
Mm-hmm.
and then we could just piggyback and build on that. What do you think of that?
My honest truth, yes. Okay. So it's funny how much we mirror each other. Again, not being aware, Maureen, I cracked a joke at my expense every millisecond I could, but that was part of not being aware, but not realizing. Remember, I spoke about the conscious and subconscious, that the subconscious doesn't understand jokes. That's the reason I would invite you not to, right? Because you already have this infinitely magical way of being where your beingness alone will provide that space, if you will, for them. Like, even if you just said, hey, I don't feel comfortable with all this, and you were just like, that is, I find that very refreshing too, that we can just tell people, because that part of not being vulnerable and part of not being authentic and part of putting the mask on and part of saying the self-deprecating jokes is all hiding, hiding, hiding versus, hey, this is uncomfortable, right? Because
Yeah.
I love what you're doing out of your pure heart and soul, and that actually your subconscious doesn't understand it. So it's actually giving you more situations where it's making you believe that you are that person that you're not. So that's where I'm so careful now that I understand the conscious and
No,
subconscious. Every word we utter doesn't know
yeah,
the difference, right? That it's a joke. And
you're
I was the,
right.
by the way, not just as funerals, everywhere I went. And someone one day caught me and she's like, stop it. And that was in my very big ego days. It was at a personal development event before I was even aware. And I'm like, who are you to say stop it? But I wasn't even authentic enough to actually tell her to her face. I just had the fight in my head, right? God, she gave me one of the biggest gifts, Maureen. Because then obviously I had an issue about it. I'm like, who talks to me like? And she actually meant well, but she caught me, but I wasn't aware.
Mm.
And what are we telling ourselves? Not just when we're speaking to others. What is our inner speech? Remember, I said before getting ready for our call here, I was like, my inner speech. I was actually talking to you and thinking how fabulous you are, and to get ready to tell you. But most of the time, unless we practice that, we're either saying nasty things about others,
Mm-hmm.
which stems from saying nasty things about ourselves. Anything
Yeah,
I judge in you exists in me, right? We're all one.
yeah.
We're all mirrors of each other. And that the only reason I love your spirit and I know you're coming from a pure place is I would stop it is because it's actually going to work. The subconscious is working 24/7 and it doesn't understand a joke.
You are
What are your
correct. It's a storage shed. It is a storage shed of facts. And as you were speaking, you really helped me clarify. I don't think I'm doing self-deprecating more so than I'm seeing what they're struggling with and I'm relating to it. So, in other words, if someone tripped, I'll say, oh my gosh, I can be so klutzy too. Or someone's like, I'm so anxious right now. I'm like, oh, I know. This can be nerve-wracking, can it? It always makes me nervous when I have to do this thing. So maybe it's not so self-deprecating as it is relatability. Is that a different thing? Because you're right. Negative self-talk is just reinserting beliefs that are not yours, that were given to you, and you're just reinstilling these beliefs that are not
yeah,
true about yourself. What do you think?
yeah, 100%. And for us to thank you, there is a distinction there in how you did distinguish it. But then to say I am klutzy, which is funny that I shouldn't be laughing as I say that the subconscious doesn't know the difference. Oops, that's an authentic moment for you. I actually said a lot I'm klutzy, but remember, anything we say after I am, we literally become. Unless we want to become it, why would we repeat it? And furthermore, if you want me to go deeper, since we're talking about authenticity, how about being with? This is something I just coached one of my elite groups this morning. Maureen, I said, and I won't mention names so everyone is safe, right? It's like a couple, but it's just one of them who's coaching with me, the other isn't. So one is way more conscious than their partner, right? And that really takes a lot. And the person coaching with me said, well, my spouse wasn't able to be with whatever I was sharing. They just want to fix everything. And I said, yes, first of all, men, that is in their DNA. They always want to help and provide for women. And I said, we get to learn to be with, which is one of the toughest things that, hey, you said it, and I know this is coming. And by the way, you're making me realize how much more work I get to do thanks to you mirroring that back to me, by the way, wink, wink, is we want to help. And you're so loving, right? Is being with, create space, just be with, like, hey, we're sad and let's be sad, not to sit in the dirty diaper in the morass, if you will, but to actually transcend it and to feel it, to heal it versus, try to make light of it, which is so something I would want to do as well. Does that resonate a little more? That being with, I think, sorry, that was a very long way of saying that being with, which forever I didn't even understand what these two words meant. I can't believe I'm now explaining it, right? I think is one of the easiest things to sit here and talk about or teach to my groups versus actually be like, hey, I get to be with this emotion, not mask it, not try to make it better, not say, hey, I'm clumsy too. No, be this.
That is so fantastic. And you're not going
Oh,
to believe
tell me.
the alignment of this conversation my husband and I just had last night. So my husband and I, we didn't have children together. So he has a son. I have a son and two daughters. And then, like I was saying, we have guardianship of my oldest grandchild who's 17. So whew, we jumped into this parenting pot completely like lost. He's never been a grandparent. And oh my God, he had a very supportive wife. They still talk, they still text all the time, they still call. We've stayed in an Airbnb with her and her wife. And like we get along, we're all besties. We went to lunch, we were just there and seeing his son. And it's,
Oh,
and my side, no support from the father whatsoever. So it was me, 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 me. So we're coming to this parenting pot going, this is what happened to me. This is what happened to me. And now we're raising this child together because we used to say we would have been terrible parents. And then this came. Maybe we created that. Maybe we manifested because like,
yes.
don't say that. And so he
Okay, okay.
comes and we had this conversation just last night where I said to him, I struggled being a single mom of a boy for a very long time without a father to support with the
Of course.
discipline and the lessons. And so with my son, I was very much like, you need to do this and take my advice. And, this is not how this should go. And gosh, there's always so many problems. How can I fix this for you? My son, we reached a point where my son actually, he never called me names or anything, but at one point he called me a name and he had some friends over who were like, don't you ever say that to your mother. And I had to back off for a while and then we came back together and had
Oh,
this really heart to heart talk about what we needed from each other. And what my son said to me was, I can't give you respect if I don't receive respect, Mom. And I said, you're right. Just because I am your mother or I am an authority, I don't have the right to demand respect and not give you respect as well. Lesson number one. The
wow.
second one was when I stepped back from fixing things from him and just, I'm going to take what you just said. I would just be. And what I would do is he'd bring me something and I'd say, "Oh, wow. That must be rough. What would you like to do about that? What do you think would be good to do about that?" I just stopped and our relationship flipped. It absolutely flipped. We laugh. He says I'm his best friend. His wife had said to me, he
Oh,
says, my mom is my best friend. He's still in Arizona, but you're right. The just be, and we had this conversation because my husband is a engineer. And what they
oh,
do is they debate. It's normal as an engineer. They debate a problem and they can get heated and they tell each other why this is supposed to be this way and why they're right. And
yes.
him and I have had the talk where you can't carry that over into our private life. And he's carrying it over into our parenting. And so the conversation I just told you was the conversation I had with him. I said, why don't we, if we want him to be self-sufficient, he's going to be 18 in October. Why don't we just do the just be? Why don't we just say, oh man, that kind of sucks. You were late for work. Darn, you know what? You probably lost some money and that's, gas in your gas tank. Stepping back showed me exactly what you said. We don't have to share in someone's problem. As empaths, we have to be careful not to join in their emotional stress.
Yes.
We know that as coaches that we have to very much protect our energy. So that was so well said, and I want you to repeat what you said. Everything after I am
You
what?
become. We literally become. And most of us are saying like what we don't want, and the universe doesn't understand the negation. So it's actually giving us, so we're basically asking for what we don't want all day, every day. And that's what I said at the beginning. It's a life by default versus life by design, because we're constantly manifesting. But are we manifesting by
Oh.
design or by default?
Fantastic. We do that. And it's so instinctual. It's that subconscious where it's just what we do. And to be intentional every day in your thoughts, your words, your beliefs is it takes work, people. This you're undoing something. Sometimes it's like I want to change the color of my eyes. You think it's gonna be impossible. You can't do that, but you can. But boy, is that it's a journey and a process, and you didn't get this way overnight. So you're not gonna undo this thing overnight. And by you saying that, everything after I am, you become, I constantly tell people when you say something like, I really love you, but blah, 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 blah. No one hears after the but.
We
And
just
it,
negate it, but negates in English or in any language, however, yeah, right? Thank you for
right.
same thing. Same
Yeah.
thing. We're
Yeah.
basically trying to speak to get our point across instead of actually listening and being with whatever communication is coming. I want
Yes.
to talk and I want to be heard, but did I stop to hear you? And I can't actually acknowledge you enough. Twofold there. Number one, you said, what did you say there about your son? You said something exceptional. I wish um, I
The
wrote,
respect, how because just because I'm his authority, that I can't demand respect, but I have to give respect if I
well,
want respect,
that I
or
wanted to, yes, I wanted to acknowledge you on that, generally speaking, that boy, parents like you who are doing the work and breaking the generational pattern, what gift you're giving to your children and now to your grandchildren. I just can't honor you enough. I there was a group of mine, Maureen, my billionaires club. They've been with me since before Supercharge was a business. So I was doing this for free as a realtor, and then I started charging them. They stayed. I upped their investment. They stayed. I upped it again. They stayed. And a young man, he's actually older than you. He's in his 60s, and today one of his great shares was how his daughter sees a difference in him. How she has seen, like, that to me is music. That's number one. I want to acknowledge you because you're so powerful, instead of actually following what, mom did. And by mom, I don't mean your mom. It's all of our moms. God bless them, right? They didn't do
right.
the work. You're the generational pattern breaker. I'm getting goosebumps. Number two, and I'll never truly understand this because I've chosen not to be a mom. it, they say that, and I believe being a parent, being a mom, a dad is the highest spiritual practice. Being in relationship, of course, is one of them too. But being a mom, what that takes, I can't even imagine, because it's so easy to sit here, be on a podcast, hey, Maureen, be with. Don't say I'm klutzy, although I never said it like that, right? But to be a mom of all things, or a dad, because I've seen my dad practice that with me. He's done none of the work, and through osmosis, he's impressed me, quite frankly, and it's like, but you're doing the work, you're breaking the generational patterns for your kids, now for your grandkids. You are the game changer. And what it takes to be a mom and to see your kid be a way that you're, excuse me, you want to say no, but you're like, excuse me, I'm coughing really now. Good
No,
thing I
take a
got
drink.
the
You're
water.
good.
Thank you.
And you're so right. Because I started by telling you I came from a household where my mother said I wanted perfect kids. So here I go into parenthood being like, do I take that belief and expect to have perfect kids? I'm 19 years old when I had my first one. What the heck do I know about being a
Nothing.
parent?
Nothing.
All I know is
Nothing.
what she said or what she did. And so, when you become a parent, there's no dress rehearsal. You just do it like everything else in your life. It's just an experience. It's just a trial. It works or it doesn't, succeeds or fails. It doesn't matter. It's an experience. And if you do, here's the thing, we all see what our parents did not do well. But the difference is we have to stop blaming it, saying, I have trauma and PTSD my entire life, and I know it's real, and I am not at all saying, please, that's not a real thing. It is an absolute real thing.
Yeah.
But the choice is, as I say, people hear me say this, I've said it in the last three podcasts, is therapy is for uncovering, coaching is for recovering. So it's good to go to therapy and uncover the PTSD. Fine. But your responsibility to yourself, like you said, you were cheating on yourself. Your responsibility to yourself is to get to a coach and recover so you can do it different for your kids and you can do it different for your grandkids. My daughter, who is the
Oh,
one of my 18-month granddaughter, is the most
yes.
amazing, amazing mother. And we have this agreement that I love. My daughter, oh, I love this and respect this so much. Her and her husband are so freaking amazing. They said, no matter what is happening between us, if we have a disagreement with you, it has no bearing on the relationship with you and Carter. And my
Oh,
my daughter said, what you do at your house with her is your relationship. That's your Mimi relationship. I gave her chocolate milk when I had her last. They were not happy with that, but they still know I'm going to do it. And they're not forbidding me from being the grandma that I am. That is appreciated. But I also respect what she's doing differently in her
yes.
parenting. The new gentle parenting technique is really
Wow.
cool. And I can see it already in an 18-month-old who I call late for a business meeting determination because she walks down the hall like she's late for a business meeting, this little 18-month-old. I see
Oh,
the self-confidence, the self-esteem, the freedom. She started when she was 1 year old, putting a bar low enough for my little baby granddaughter with three outfits and allowing her to choose her outfit. And what did I say to you? The biggest issue of our past is when we allowed something or we didn't know we had a choice. You're starting a child out at 1 year old saying you have a choice on what you're going to wear. I didn't do that. I told them, here, the outfit's on your bed. We're late. Hurry up, put it on. No,
yeah, but you actually started that. Thanks to you, is that baby Carter has that freedom. It's thanks to you not actually being in victim consciousness, right? Because up to 18, it's our parents. We can stay in. I shared earlier, Maureen. I played the lame blame game my entire life, living from the outside in victim, poor me, checking out my own belly button, right? Versus being in victor consciousness. Once we are aware, that's why it is our responsibility. And you said for our kids, our grandkids, we really owe it to our world. It's we owe it to ourselves, we owe it to our communities, our families, the generations to come, but we owe it to our one world. That's how we can basically become a better world, by raising the conscious awareness of our planet one human at a time, instead of me being too busy checking out my own belly button. Right? So, but you created that, you being that bold, brave warrior and soul, limitless soul, is who created that freedom. For because imagine if, and there you actually get infinite more acknowledgement for that second part, because being with is hard enough, let alone for a mom and dad. But you actually did that, coming, as you said, from a parent who expected perfect children because of her own awareness of or lack thereof, right? And that, going back full circle to how we started, all of that adversity happened for you so that you can actually be that game changer, the game changer of your family, and build that legacy of no more. And what a joy it must be. It was Carter's, the picture you showed me with the that see, and you that's how powerful we are in our co-creation. You create, I congrats, honestly, it's an honor to witness that.
and
Wow.
I appreciate you so much
Oh,
for that. And I can see
oh,
how alike our coaching is we make sure that we tell and remind people who come for coaching how amazing they are, because a lot of times we just don't remember that. I don't think about that, what you just said. I do not think, oh yeah, my daughter's the best mom because of me. No, I'm the opposite. I'm like, she saw what I did wrong and that's why she's so good. But I love I love that you did that. And I love that we have that commonality. And I agree with you 1,000,000% that we can do this in every situation in our life. Strangers at the grocery store, coworkers at work. Every day you can intentionally and consciously do something you haven't done that way yesterday or before. And
Yeah.
that's the key to change, right? That's supercharging. Give us an idea as we wrap up. Oh my God, we're so over time.
Oh, are we
I don't
wrapping
care.
up?
No, it's fine. Like I said, I could talk to you forever. Okay, so I want to know everything you have going on, how listeners can reach you, what's your website, what's any books you have going on, master classes. Give it to us, baby. It's your time to shine.
You're hilarious, I tell you. I could go on and on with you too. Thank you so much, Maureen. You're such a beautiful woman and a fantastic soul. I just can't say enough great things about you. I'm having a blast. Thank you. What I'm a firm believer, just like you said in the coaching, that it's our job, it's our duty, it's our responsibility, but really it's a privilege to act like we're unbecoming till our last breath. Like find a fantastic, the most fantastic coach like Maureen, and literally once one resonates with you, like stick with the work. The work works as long as you're working it, right? Something I created from being coached by various fantastic coaches is my child is the mind gym. Just like we go and train our bodies. You don't go train one day and not train at all for the month, or train once a week, which I had with many coaches, and it was fantastic. But I saw something that didn't happen in the marketplace that I was in or anywhere in the world, was the daily work. And we literally meet like this on Zoom every morning, and I coach them and I supercharge them. So there is a motivational aspect, Maureen, where I rah-rah them. There is an accountability aspect, but we know motivation, like Zig Ziglar says, doesn't last, like bathing, right? So, but it's more of what you said. I love that with your laughter there, how you said it's a remembering, because we all know deep inside, like you and I have the deepest privilege of reminding precious souls who they are deep inside when they silence all the chatter, which most don't get to, right? There's too much chatter, whether it's Instagram, whether it's YouTube, whether it's whatever it may be, the consumption, overconsumption, Netflix, whatever it is, right? The noise, politics, as you mentioned, right? So much adversity, so much compassion for all of it, of course, is um once we silence all the chatter and go within, that's where we really know where all the magic, that we are magical, but we've forgotten. So it's so nice that we get to remind them. And I do that with them every day. Superchargewithsuzan.com is my website. At Supercharge with Suzan, I can be found on Instagram, where we will not only where we have free lives every week, I also have free lives in my Facebook group. Anyone can join as long as it resonates. I'm here to serve. I'm humbled and delighted. It's my vision to co-create yours. And then on IG and Facebook, once we're connected there, they can see, like, I run a few free master classes for whoever isn't into being in the coaching. They can be in the free. There's no limit to how much you can do the free. It's my joy. I do them worldwide. And for whoever doesn't want to be in the daily mind gyms, I created Manifest Mondays, where it's a call on Zoom every Monday, with the exception of the Mondays that I'm off. Wink, wink. So, and that is exactly what we do 5 days a week, except it's just a smaller version of it on Mondays, only to start the week off fresh and supercharged.
Wow. How committed. How committed. That is commitment. I mean, I do a podcast once a week, and then I do my coaching, and that's a commitment to do this mind gym daily, to take that time. You care so much. You're so committed to starting people off on the right foot first thing in the morning to make their day different with you. And then every Monday to do this, you accommodate so many people because how amazing your soul is and what you came here to do. And you're doing it. You're doing it. Is it superchargewithsusan.com or is it just the email?
.com is the website. At Supercharge with Suzan is the IG handle or the Facebook handle at Supercharge with Suzan. Thank you, Maureen, and it truly takes one to know one. You're a blast. You're fun. You're super fun, bubbly, beautiful personality. But you're just such a brilliant soul.
Oh,
I hope you that today.
this was so light, and listeners, I've been bringing you lighter episodes because I really want to keep you engaged in the fact that change can be fun. Healing is fun. You can make it fun. Everything is not a downer. Yeah, we go to some places where we have to uncover some things that are uncomfortable, but we can just be and feel the feels to heal. But I wanted to do some lighter episodes so you could see there are coaches out there, such as myself and Suzan, who can make it fun for you, who I believe incorporate laughter so we can instill those endorphins and
Oh,
instill hope, because that's everything about doing changes is hope. So as we end this podcast, I have little segments that I do that are a little bit lighter. And what I want to know is, since you're a world traveler, this one's going to be perfect for you. I have a segment called That Tastes Funny. And I want to know, and the listeners want to know, what is the weirdest food you've either tasted or you eat regularly that most people would not be a fan of? As my
oh
grandson would say.
man, sorry. What did you say at the end there?
As my grandson would say, I'm not a fan of that, Grandma, when I make him something he doesn't like. But what's the weirdest thing you can think of?
I can't think of anything weird. I usually like to think of myself as very adventurous, and there is something weird about. I can't, and maybe sauerkraut isn't weird at all. I don't think to people, so no, I don't even want to say that. I wouldn't. I mean, deep
Well, how
fried.
about this? You're
Yeah,
in Bali. So what is something they have in Bali that maybe I've never had or most people would find maybe a little unusual?
I.
Is there a seafood that they eat
It,
that we wouldn't?
is there another question that I could ask?
I love it. I love it when I spring stuff on people.
No,
But the
no, I just.
sauerkraut, I'm okay with the sauerkraut thing
Sorry,
because
sorry. I don't think sauerkraut would count. Like, especially for someone who eats it a lot. They'd be like, "Come on, Suzan, you call that weird?" Sorry, people. Yeah.
okay, I got another one for you. I don't care. We'll go through all eight of them if we have to. I got all the time in the world. And
Sure.
then
Let's
wait,
do it.
I got
Okay, I'm
not. What
up
is it
for it.
that we say? I got nothing to do and all day to do it. And that's not true. I do have coaching,
That's
but I'm just saying that. Okay,
that's hilarious.
here's a good one.
Tell me.
Um, it's kind of a newer one. It's kind of a newer one that I created, and it's called Settle Down Now. And because I feel like you're sort of my ADD girl, soulmate, settle down now. What is something you fidget with? And I can tell you because I've watched you do it throughout the entire podcast. But what is something you recognize that you fidget with?
I've been moving back and forth like this a lot. A lot. Oh, my hair. Thank you. Oh, I didn't say. Yes, that is definitely something I fished with. Thank you for picking it up. And we're still being recorded, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, definitely
It's
get
the
to
It's just
find
the realness of who we are. I have this really cool thing that I got my grandson and he gave it to me, and it is the most fun thing. So if you ever feel you need to fidget, this is kind of a really cool little fidgeting thing. It turns into a rectangle and then it
I love
closes.
that. It
I
looks
know.
like the 80s thingy, the what is it called? The Rubik's
The
Cube.
Rubik's Cube, yeah, but I don't even know how to,
That
I can't even figure out how it works. It baffles me, but it's so super fun.
but it
Um,
keeps your so thank you for bringing that up in all authenticity. A lot of times it feels like I have a bad hair day, which today was so that's why I think I would benefit more, maybe yes, having something to hold, but more so maybe to have my hair away like you have done so beautifully, then I wouldn't. It feels like it's not the way I want it. And so, and the days that it is, which I don't want to say this, but the truth is, has been quite rare. That's when you'll find me not fidgeting with it. But yes, that is
And I'm not guiltless. So the reason I have a pen and I write down stuff that you say, but in the meantime, I'm down here fidgeting with this pen and nobody can see it. It's just down here.
no. Oh, that was very smart. I
So,
I'm either gonna get my hair done in a way moving forward because I don't know how to do it that keeps it out of the way, or we're gonna find a pen that's right here so that you all don't see it. Is that good?
yeah, just keep your hands busy because I've always been told I should be Italian, although I'm Irish, because I talk with my hands, and when I do speeches on stage, I have to be so aware of my hands because I can't emphasize the
Oh, I
words
love
enough.
that. I
So
love that.
I'm very conscious of my hands, so I do make sure that I'm sort of holding something to keep it
Oh.
more
See, that works for me though when someone is that's so much passion, but the hair actually doesn't. So I'm actually very grateful for you to have asked the question. I'm grateful that I didn't have something weird I thought I'd eaten, so that you get to ask that. Because even when you ask, I am aware because on my lives I'm doing this, and it's like so annoying, and I don't want to be doing it because I want to be more present to actually make a difference, which is the reason we're here. So I'm actually grateful in a humbling way that this came about. Even when you asked it, I didn't know. I'm like, you're like,
We love you, and
I love that.
it doesn't bother us. I never want to take away from your light, and we don't want to watch
Oh,
your hair. We don't
no, it
care.
doesn't work.
Yeah, just you know what? Have one of these little clippies on hand and just stick that sucker back there because I want to see your beautiful face and I want to be focused on what you're saying. But that's why I do those segments because authenticity,
Thank you.
genuine. There you are.
There.
We're
That was
gonna
a big gift
say
you gave me. Thank you. I take
we're
it.
gonna stay with us. We're gonna say goodbye and thank you for the honor of you being here to at my get to today, Miss Susan Peltekian, who is you're going to recharge with Susan, guys. I'm going to give you or supercharge with Susan. I'm going to give you all of those links in her episode when that comes out, when that publishes live. So until then, I'm going to let everybody go. Please do not forget my books. My dog is more enlightened than I am, and that is really channeled writing where in my beginning of my healing, I figured out who I was and what I deserved and how I started my healing journey. You'll love that. The next one, my dog is my relationship coach, is all about those romantic relationships, dating relationships, family relationships, how to improve them, how to speak your truth, how to make boundaries, how to go through the process of online dating or redating or all of those things. It's a wonderful book for any relationship. It doesn't necessarily have to be you're married or you're in a committed relationship, but it applies to all of those relationships. You'll find something in there for everyone. Of course, my children's book for little ones 0 to 6, My Dog Bexley is just like me, teaches them mindfulness and emotions and self-care is very good. Our dog boutique, we have so many fun new things. I even just got a ton more things. I have a car carrier now. We've got tutus. We've got, oh my God, you name it. It's cold. It's 15 degrees here in Austin. So we've got all your little puffer jackets and
Oh,
warm stuff for your puppies. We've got rhinestone collars for your fancy divas. Everything, you name it. I make homemade healthy treats in my kitchen and paw balm that's lickable and safe for those dry pads when you're taking them for a walk in the winter. So all that being said, mydogiseverything.net. Go shop, guys. Go shop for those babies. And on that note, please take care of you. Take care of each other. Most of all, take care of those furry babies. Go out there and adopt. Do not shop. Plenty of foster babies that will love you unconditionally, just like mine do. And they'll find you. I promise. So I love you all. Until next week. Bye.